Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reverend Bell. And at this time, I'm going to let Lady come in. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, Reverend Carter Njumbe is coming up so he can give a brief history of why we've named this candidates forum the Anne Marie Jackson Downing Forum. Reverend Njumbe.
Thank you. It is a blessing to be here, and I give thanks to Reverend Bell, who is the pastor of this church, and to my mother-in-law, Eva Owens Carter, for extending me the invitation to share with you just a little bit about the person after whom this forum is being named and celebrated today. Let me ask, before I begin though, how many who are here today have been to one of these forums before? Wow, so everybody should know. Now, maybe I should look this way to the candidates. How many have been? There's one. Well, for those of us who have been here before, they know that there is a rich legacy and a rich personality that is connected to this particular forum. I was blessed for a couple of years to serve as the pastor here at Westminster Presbyterian Church, and we're not supposed to have favorites, but I had one, and I'm kind of trying to make sure I know right where she's sitting. I normally would look at it from a different angle, maybe back there, Linda, wherever you are. You might be in her seat this evening, but Anne Marie Jackson Downing was one of my favorites. She was one of my favorites not only because she was just so sweet, her personality, her love, the way that she just showed up. She would be there for Bible study, she would be there for worship, but she would also be present for her community. She would be present for her people, and she made sure that you knew that you needed to be responsible as well. The breakfast, and I know I made a couple, but she every year, Pastor, you're gonna be there for the breakfast. I remember the breakfasts. I remember taking a picture, I want to find it, of my two daughters right back there around where the camera is at one of these forums, because she believed, Anne Marie Jackson Downing, she believed that we had to take responsibility not only for registration, not only for mobilization on the day of elections, but for voter education as well. And so she wanted to bring candidates, regardless of what it is that they believe, regardless of what it is that they said that they were represented, that they needed to be able to speak to community. They needed to be able to give answers that answer and solutions that solve. And she was just a little bitty woman. But you could not imagine the energy and the passion that she had as she went and she collected absentee ballots. We were getting information handed to us. She would go to the nursing homes and making sure that people's votes were counted, that their voices did matter. She came out of an iconic civil rights community in Montgomery, but also connected here in Birmingham. So she understood the power of the vote. She understood the power of what can happen when people come together and to organize. And so I am just blessed with the opportunity. And when I saw it on Sunday, and I saw that it was being named, this forum, which has happened I don't know how many years. Does anybody know how many years? I know you said many, many years. It is the year for the breakfast. So how many years have we done this forum? Probably over 20 years. 44 years. 44 years. The commitment that she had to make sure that this happened. I'm happy that I see people sitting in the pews. There were some years where it was light. There were some years where all of the seats were not full in terms of candidates. There were some years, but you always knew that Anne Marie Jackson Downing was going to be there. And so as we gather today, let us remember to remember her. I was given the charge of what's her name. And if you know Shakespeare, you know that comes from Romeo and Juliet. And Juliet says that phrase. She's talking about which direction she'll go with Romeo. And she says, well, what's in a name? A rose by any other name is just as sweet. I would disagree with Juliet. This form is made sweeter. This form is made better because it is being named after Anne Marie Jackson Downey. Because as we gather together, we are remembering what she did, and we're remembering the commitment that she had to this community. So as I sit down, in the church we sing, there's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place, and I know it's the presence of the Lord, and I say amen to that. But I also know, sitting right next to Linda, there's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. And I know it is the presence of Anne Marie Jackson Downey. So thank you, Ms. Downey. Thank you for your 44 years of work, for your 94 years of life. Thank you for the commitment that you made to this community. Amen.
Okay, it's hard to come behind the preacher. Now the candidates have to come behind the preacher. So at this time, I would like for the candidates to introduce themselves, all right? So that they know what they're running for, the position they're running for, and all of the other details. So maybe start on this end, please.
Sure. So, can everybody hear me? No. Beautiful. Okay. My name is Joel Blankenship. I'm running for Jefferson County Probate Judge, Place 2. I don't know how much you want to get. First of all, why do we put the Republicans on the right side of the table and the Democrats on the left? Did y'all plan that ahead of time? Or?
You said sit.
I just said sit. Okay. Well, my name's Joel. I'm a Republican. I hope that's not a scary term to you, but it is who I am. I was adopted in Jefferson County Probate Court in 1983, 40 years ago almost. And now I'm running for this seat. I feel like the court is calling me home. I feel like it's my chance and my opportunity to go into that court, to continue to make it a better place and make it a place that serves all of Jefferson County, regardless of political party, regardless of race, and regardless of what side of the table you sit on, I guess. So thank y'all for having me tonight. I'm really honored to be a part of this community event in the 44th year, I think you said, 45th. Thank y'all so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Hi, does this work?
It's supposed to.
You got to turn it on.
It works. Well, I'll try, y'all. I'm not as loud as this. And I'm losing my voice a little bit just from going around talking so much. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. My name is John Amari. I'm running for probate court, but it's place 1. There's 2 different probate court places in Jefferson County. I'm married. My wife Amber, unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. I married a girl from Arizona, and she had some family medical stuff happen over there. She had to fly out to Tucson a couple of days ago. But she's given me 4 beautiful children. Got 2 boys and 2 girls. I got teenagers. And I didn't know if I was ready for this job, but dealing with teenagers, I feel like I'm getting some baptism by fire. So we live out in Trustful, but I grew up in the Huffman area. And that's kind of what led me to run. Okay. That name Amari, my last name, that's an Italian name. My family came here from Italy, and they were farmers. And they came and really lived that American dream, that you hear about. And they built a curb market out in Huffman. And that curb market is what they used as their mission to the community. They believed in helping members of their community that didn't have enough food, that needed help with their children, needed help with medical bills. And that was kind of the beginning of public service in my family. And that sense and that need to serve the public and the community has just gone from generation to generation. And that's why I'm running. I've lived in Jefferson County my entire life. I love this county. I love the people of this county. And, you know, when I got the opportunity to serve, I jumped at it. So I hope y'all will hear me out tonight. And if you have any questions or want to talk to me, I'm open. Just come and find me.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
To the pastor of this church, Reverend Bell, to all the ministers here, to Westminster, am I saying that correctly? Church, thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm Jamaria Moore, and I'm running for Judge of Probate Place 2. I am from Birmingham. I grew up round the corner in West End. My family's from Mother. We grew up in a very small area, but we understood family. I've been working in this community all my life. I attended West End High School, came back home and started working in this area, and I have been working ever since. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm married. My husband's here with me. We have 4 kids, 8 grandchildren. And I am here with a seat. I've been working in the probate court since I started practicing law. 90% of my practice is in probate. I've worked for the people of this county. I have done adoptions in the probate court. I have done an adoption of my own in the probate court. I want to tell you that because that court means so much, it is such a vital part of our community. It's talking about our assets and the legacy that we leave to our heirs. It's talking about how we're taking care of our community. I am running because I want that court to continue with integrity. I want it to have compassion. Whether you know it or not, you're gonna sometime, you're probably gonna touch probate court, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But I just want you to know that I'm here because I love my community. I love Jefferson County. I made my roots here. My family's here, and I want to make that difference in our county so that our probate court can continue to function, and it can continue to function with integrity and in a place that we get things done and get it out timely for our citizens so we can keep families together. And we'll talk about that in a little while.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. Can everyone hear me, or do I need to speak a little bit? Okay, good. I am Shantae Brown. I am running for District Court Judge at Place 11. That is a seat in the criminal division. And I chose to run in the criminal division because criminal law is my life. I started my career in the criminal justice field as a public defender, and I did it for a reason. So many times, people get the short end of the stick because they can't afford this high priced attorney. And I know that freedom shouldn't depend on finance, justice shouldn't depend on someone's job. So instead of opening up my own law firm, I decided to get in the trenches and become a public defender. After becoming a public defender, I realized there was more power in being as a prosecutor. So I became a prosecutor. As a prosecutor, I take that job very seriously. I look at the case and see, one, is it enough evidence to prosecute this case? I look at the case and say, is this person's first offense? Can I reduce it to a misdemeanor? Can I give them deferred prosecution? What can I do to try to make them better than what they can? So it's not always about putting someone in prison. It's about what else can you do? So I have literally served on both sides of justice as a public defender and as a prosecutor. Throughout my legal career, I have handled over 2,000 criminal cases. I have served in the criminal justice system for over a decade. At the University of Alabama, I majored in I put me on this earth it is. And I just want to continue to serve as the criminal district judge in the Bessemer division. I live in Bessemer. I go to church in Bessemer at New Life Interfaith Ministries. My baby go to school in Bessemer. Yes. But I grew up in Birmingham, though, no Birmingham. I went to Ramsey High School. I pledged Joseph Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. All right.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I see your I pledged Joseph Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated at the University of Alabama. So I'm just a public servant, y'all. My husband is a police officer at the University of Alabama. Before then, he served in the Army. So we're just a family of servants. And so I just ask for everyone to be down with Shante Brown on November 8th.
Last. That's fine. Good evening. My name is Fred Bowling. I am a 25-year practicing attorney. Well, actually, let me take that back. I'm a 26-year practicing attorney. It's not that I have such a great memory and keep up with dates and times, other than my anniversary to that beautiful lady with the purple on. But I actually will be traveling to DC to celebrate my 25th year law school graduation. And so I know it's 26 years because as a student at Howard University School of Law, I have a special license to practice while there. We live currently in Heritage, but my years of growing up here in Birmingham was much around this community. I attended Our Lady of Fatima Catholic School from the time I was in kindergarten all the way through. I also attended church there. And once I married that pretty Baptist girl, I became something called Baffling. So now I'm 2 weeks at my church and 2 weeks at her, which is over in the Tarpon City area of Wedona. Service to me, while I'm running, one, because I chose law as a profession, I got pretty good at it, and I can effectively serve on the bench. It's not necessarily, I can't go and say, well, this was just some lifelong dream that, oh, I just had to be a judge or nothing. My lifelong dream was to be a great family man. I think I've accomplished that. The second thing I learned from just watching my father, who was a steel worker, was that there's never not enough time in the day to be able to give back. You can always find a way to give back. My dad started our school program and probably mentored thousands of kids in Birmingham, including the chief of staff of the city, Cedric Bars. That was one of his little kids. And all the other kids that came through Our Lady of Fatima. So when I came back home from law school, and one of the first things when it was time for me to be married to my wife, one of my biggest considerations is, well, whatever we're going to do, it's got to also be able to include the Little League kids that I coach. I've been doing Little League ball coaching for probably 30 years now. Here in Titusville, I am the commissioner of the Titusville Youth Sports Association, which runs football, basketball, and baseball. So that is really why my passion is to serve. One is to be an example. I don't think kids can aspire to be something that they don't see. And the awesome idea of my kids not only having me as the coach that tried to snatch us in line, but hey, yeah, of course I could be a judge. My coach was. And he's somebody that I can touch on a daily basis. I look forward to serving and serving well. I will be stepping in the shoes of a legend who's also a Titusville area person. That's Carol Smithman. She's having to retire, and it's her seat currently that she presides in. I am grateful for all the support that I've had thus far, and I'm grateful for the support to come. And I'm going to be an open book. And to the extent that I can, I'm going to be coming back to educate. Because I think that's the biggest key to any of these positions. Judges, you don't see very often after they're in. And it's not because they just got what they wanted, they don't want to be around. There's a lot of things that we have to do to keep the appearances of being impartial and not being involved. So that's sometimes why you don't see them. But we do have a commission and are able to go out and educate. And so you will see me coming back to educate. And if you got a program for children, you will see me coming back anytime you call. So I say thank you. I'm glad to be here today. And I look forward to everyone rolling on November 5th.
Well, some of them have already given a lot of information, but we have a few questions for you, if you don't mind. The first question is to anyone on the panel. who would like to answer. What are the most pressing issues in the office that you are seeking? What are the most pressing issues in the office that you are seeking?
We'll just reverse it this time.
Yes, reversal.
Reverse it. So the seat, just to make it even plainer, I said circuit, I said civil. I said circuit, but I did not say civil. But the seat that I'm seeking is circuit civil. That is your base level trial court here in Jefferson County. Any dispute that's not criminal in nature, that's not related to family law, that's not in probate court initially, or that's not in family, if it's $20,000 or more, those cases come to see us. So almost any sort of dispute you can think of between governmental entities, between individual citizens, between neighbors, all of that comes there. So when I look and see what's going on, the law is set and it rolls down from the top, okay? So it's not like we're the legislature, we're not creating laws, so that's not a pressing issue. I can't tell you I'm going to come in and create a bunch of laws, I'm not. What I'm going to do is look at the situations that come before us and make a fair decision and determination and make sure that everybody's following the rules. So, well, why does it matter that you're in versus anyone else? Well, experience in making sure that justice is done in a timely fashion is the most pressing issue. That's the most pressing issue that any of the circuit civil judges can make sure it's happening. Because again, eventually someone higher up will get the law right. But oftentimes, every step, every extra day that it takes for a decision to be made, that's somebody's real life situation. That's somebody that even though you may eventually win, you've now exhausted resources that you should not have had to exhaust. So the most pressing issue is to get justice done and done in a timely manner. Because justice delayed is oftentimes justice denied. So being timely in my rulings will be the most pressing, and the most pressing issue that we'll solve.
Thank you. And I was told we had a two minute.
So I need to cut that in half.
Y'all can't give us a live mic and just cut us off. We'll go all night.
Right.
And everyone does not have to answer
Gotcha.
that particular question if you do not care to. Okay, would you like to answer?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. So, like I said, the seat that I'm running for is in the criminal division. Being first a public defender and then being a prosecutor, serving in the criminal justice system for nearly 10 years, it has given me a lot of insight on what are the deep-rooted issues, right? So a lot of times we see the news articles about all the gun violence and the senseless shootings. We see the opioid crisis. So as the criminal district judge, there's only one criminal district judge in the Westminster Division, let me say that. So I will be over drug court, I will be over from class A misdemeanors all the way up to class A felonies, including attempted murders, robberies, rape, you name it, I'll be over all of that. So my job, one of the things I want to implement as the district court judge in the Westminster Division, I don't just want to handle the case and go through the docket and go through the motions. I want to look at each case individually and see what can I do to get to the deep-rooted issues. So that can be making sure somebody, if they have an opioid addiction, 9 times out of 10, if somebody's committing a lot of burglaries, a lot of thefts, a lot of breaking and enterings, they're dealing with a drug addiction. So instead of just putting felony on top of felony on top of felony, and their courtroom becoming a revolving door, and they just keep coming back, what can I do to try to stop this person from coming back? So instead of giving them that felony, let me try to see if they can complete the drug court program. Can they graduate from the drug court program? Can we attack that issue? Because if the drugs stop, then 9 times out of 10, it will lessen the chances of them breaking into a home or breaking into a vehicle or committing a senseless theft or robbery. So that's what I want to do as a judge, is to look at each crime, each case individually, and take the time and put the work in to see what more can I do than just going through the motion and going through the document. Because I live in our community, so I care about what's actually going on in our community.
Thank you so much. All right.
Great, thank you. So The court that I'm running for is probate court, and the issue there are a couple of issues that I believe are extremely important to our community. One is mental health. Right now, we are going through a mental health crisis in our community. A lot of the people that I see, I serve as a municipal court judge for the city of Birmingham. A lot of those individuals that are in my court because they have mental health issues. We have to find a way to help these individuals. And the mental health court is a part of probate. If someone is getting committed or have to have a commitment, we have to be more vigilant in making sure that we are getting our citizens the help. We cannot incarcerate everybody for that purpose because they're having a mental health crisis or they have a mental health diagnosis. We have to find ways to try to get them in places. And right now, that backlog is probably to January at this point to even be able to get somebody into a mental health center. So we have to work towards doing that. The other thing, and the other question that I get everywhere I go is, why does it take so long in probate court? One of the reasons are a lot of things that are statutory by nature. We have to wait 180 days for creditors to make claims against the estates. There are things that we have to do. However, one of the major things I want to make sure that we are doing is adjudicating cases in the probate court and getting the rulings right. So that means listening to the evidence that comes before us, making sure that we are hearing what's going on with the people, finding a way if there is an ability for us to have families to mediate so we can keep families together. Our community is suffering because our families fighting over mom and them house. So we need to find a way that we can mediate some of those cases. That's one of the pressing issues, and I want to make sure that we get those things done. So those are my two issues. I got a lot more, but I got 2 minutes.
Attorney Moore is right. The mental health commitments are such an important part of probate court. Just real quick, what probate court does. Probate court is going to hear when you lose a loved one and you're talking about distributing their assets, that's where you go. If you have a loved one that becomes incapacitated and can't care for themselves anymore, you'll have guardianships, conservatorships, those take place in probate court. The mental health commitments, adoptions. So when you start going down the list of what happens in probate court, you see why Attorney Moore said it affects a lot of people. Most of the people of Jefferson County are going to touch probate court in life or death in some form or fashion. It's a very important court. Because of that, what's really important to me is making people feel welcome in probate court and helping them through a cumbersome process. There are statutory requirements that you wait a long period of time. There are some times where if a loved one didn't have a will, you got to get permission from the court to do anything, to sell a house or to transfer some assets. And these are things where if a judge is not staying on top of these things, you may lose the opportunity to sell your house. While you're sitting there waiting on the judge to give you permission to sell, the buyer might move on to somewhere else. And these are everyday ways that everyday people get affected by probate court. And so I think what's going to be important to me is just, y'all, I'm rooted in family. Family's everything to me. I'm one of 5. My dad was one of 6. My dad's got 17 grandbabies. We got kids everywhere, old people everywhere, young people everywhere. Family's everything. And I think a judge that's compassionate and understands that just like I love my family, whoever's in that courtroom, they love their family member too. And they want to be treated with respect. So that's going to be issue number 1 for me, is always remember where I came from and making sure I treat people with respect and help them get through this process as easy as possible.
So you're going to be hearing a lot of the same things from this end of the table, the 3 of us running from the same office. It's because we see the same issues. It's because the probate court is so extensive, and yet there are only 2 judges. I think there are 20 judges in the rest of the courthouses combined, somewhere around there. For all 700,000 citizens of Jefferson County, but there are only 2 probate judges. So you can imagine the caseload, and you can also imagine, as Mr. Amari said, I think both Attorney Moore and Mr. Marr both said this, there's statutory requirements. There are certain things that we can and cannot do. And it's hard because oftentimes the state does nothing but become a divorce of a family because unfortunately, like a divorce, everyone's just fighting over the assets and what's fair and what's not. And that's not what you want to see. You want to see a court that brings everyone together. Most importantly, though, this court has some very incredible powers. On the criminal court, if someone does a crime, it takes a jury of 12 people to convict them of that crime. On the probate court, if someone alleges that you are incompetent or incapacitated or mentally unable, it's one probate judge that makes that decision. We have to get that right. We have to make sure there's an advocate for that person. We have to make sure that we are hearing this case. And it may take a little bit more time, and we can find ways to make up that time elsewhere. But you've got to make sure that you're not just being flippant about taking away someone's rights, putting someone under a conservatorship that might not need to be under conservatorship, putting someone under a guardianship that might not need to be. We have to get the people help that need the help, but we have to make sure that we're not unduly putting others under that burden that I'm going to tell you is incredibly hard to remove. I hate to bring her up. Look at Britney Spears. She was one of the most famous rich people in the world, and she may have had her problems. It took her 15 years to get a conservatorship removed because she couldn't hire an attorney of her own. So I'm getting the time signal. We'll talk a lot more about this. You gotta listen to people. You gotta try the case, and ultimately, you gotta make a decision: win, lose, or draw.
Okay, thank you. About the candidate, which civic organizations or nonprofit organizations do you belong to?
Okay, so it goes back to me first. Okay, so civic, nonprofit. Trying to think of all of them. Let's see. So
Just a few.
I am a member of the Birmingham Irish Cultural Association, believe it or not, with this red-headed here, from which we have helped, and I have worked with the 5 Points Alliance in doing the St. Patrick's Day Parade for about 5 of the past 10 years. I'm the chairman of the Alabama Athletic Commission, so the state boxing commission, so boxing, MMA, pro wrestling, bare knuckle. I've been lucky enough to serve as a member of that for almost 10 years now. In addition, trying to think of what else. I've been on with the board of PARCA. I've worked with the city on several things. Sorry, I didn't think about all my stuff on my resume. I apologize. Whatever organization calls, I generally show. I have a problem with when somebody says he wants to do things, of not stepping back when everyone else does, and so I end up being the guy that remains there. Sorry, I felt like that was a terrible answer. Just not thinking. You caught me off guard with that. I've been asked this one.
So the thing I'm the most proud of, and I'll go down the list. I've been the president of the Chamber of Commerce where I live in Trustful. I've been on a few boards. I'm even in this Irish Heritage Cultural Society.
He's probationary now.
But the things that I'm most interested in and probably most passionate about are anything involving education and anything involving children. So right now I'm on I'm a former president. I'm still on the Trustful Sea Schools Foundation, which is just a fundraising arm of the school system. And I'm also a member of a board member for Reach and Teach, which is a really cool concept. It's a curriculum where kids, I know this sounds a little crazy, but they put on a rock concert. But it's a 13-week nationally accredited curriculum, and it teaches kids that there's other opportunities for work other than just going to college or just getting a trade. Because not every kid is interested in everything, So it just gives them another thing. But honestly, what I'm most passionate about and most proud of, and this is why I was so happy to hear Attorney Bowling said this, I've been a youth sports coach since my oldest boy was 4 years old. And y'all, there's nothing that affects me more than seeing a light bulb go off on a kid when they figure out that they figure something out, whatever it is, how to shoot basketball, how to dribble, how to hit a baseball, how to catch. And when you see a kid that at the beginning of the season has no confidence, and by the end of the season he gets a hit, he makes a great play, and you see that kid light up, that nothing affects me more than that. So that's probably what I'm most passionate about, is being a youth sports coach.
Okay, all right. So for me, I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I'm also a member of the Valley Pearl Service Foundation. As a member of those two organizations, I do serve in a capacity as vice president and on the board of directors. I am a member of the Links Incorporated. I am a member of Redemption Earn. That's one of the ones that I'm passionate about. Redemption Earn is a organization that started for individuals that are incarcerated that have life-altering and changing illnesses. Some of these people are in the prison system, and they are no longer a harm or a danger to the citizens of this state or the county in which they live. And it's a program that's helping them to get out so that they can die with dignity. These are individuals that have served many, many years, and I'm very passionate about Redemption Earn. With that, we keep moving. I got so many. My husband's probably looking at me talking about you on every call. So we have Redemption Earn, we have that board, the leagues, the AKs, the Valley Pearls, the I'm in the Unity Breakfast, of course. I'm a part of the Unity Breakfast. I'm a member of course, the Alabama Democratic Party, the Executive Committee. I am a part of course, my church, and I attend Hopewell Baptist Church, North Birmingham, where Dr. Woods is my pastor, and all of the organizations within that. Alabama A&M University alumni, where I serve as recording secretary. Wow, I'm in a lot of organizations. Stream Interventions, that's another one that I'm very proud of. Stream is an organization that helps students who want to be in the technology field. I don't think I mentioned that I am a time is up. I am a civil engineer, so I want to make sure that every child gets an opportunity to be in the tech fields.
Thank you. All right.
I'm gonna make sure I stick to 2 minutes. So I do a whole lot as well. I do a whole lot as well, but I'm gonna stick to 2 of them. I'm gonna stick to 2 of them. One, I serve with Empower to Conquer. It's a faith-based organization that go inside of high schools to help with 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. That's something I'm very passionate about. Again, children, that's something I'm very passionate about because I'm trying to catch them young, y'all. I don't want them to get in this criminal justice system, so I always do things that involve children. So one, Empower to Conquer. The second thing, I sit on the board of Bridgeways, which is over Camp Fletcher, and that is also a great organization as well that deal with children. So I'll say that those are my 2.
Thank you. Okay.
Good deal. Well, I am a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Phi Chapter. I serve on the scholarship committee for probably going on 10 years now in that organization. I have worked with DHR's Citizens Quality Assurance Review Board. I am on the 6th Avenue Baptist Church Community Development Board as of recent this year. And I know y'all are saying, wait a minute, you said you were Catholic and Baptist, but 6th Avenue was not one of those churches. But we do a lot of partnerships. The Ladies Over Youth program there also serves as president of our youth football board. And so she invited me to join that board. Common Threads, if you've seen this building down here, it used to be the printing company, is now 841 Sports Training. There's a lot of other development coming there, a lot of exciting things coming. Event space, I think, soon to be. I actually served with one of those guys who came through our football program who develops that. So I actually served on that board as well. I've been probably 6 or 7 times I've sponsored children with Fox 6 Kids Jobs Draft program. I did that for quite a long time. I probably have 10 to 20 other things I can name, but the short and long of it is that if someone calls my wife and I, and we come home and she looks at me and says, wait a minute, not another one. And then I look at her and say, no, not another one. In fact, most recently we are now Jack and Jill folks and pops or whatever. I think we just get told what to do, and it's really the women's time.
I got it now. I know exactly. I'm watching.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions from the audience? Are there any questions that anyone would like to ask?
I do. You talked about running for different places. Can you explain what the places, where they are, the locations of them, or what they cover,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
areas they cover?
Yeah, it's all of Jefferson County, so it includes the Westminster cutoff. And there's place 1, that's the spot I'm running for. And then there's place 2. And Attorney Moore and Attorney Blankenship, they're running for place 2. So really, you're gonna see both races on your ballot. Is that, I mean, so, and there's a subtle difference between 1 and 2, and I don't know if we'll get into that, but for the most part, as far as voting, everyone in Jefferson County is gonna vote, have the opportunity to vote for the candidates in place 1 and the candidates in place 2.
The subtle difference that he's talking about, by the way, is this. Place 1 decides what cases they want, and then all the ones they don't want go to place 2. That's the subtle difference.
So I hope that's a subtle difference, but just so that you know, both probate judges will handle cases for the entire Jefferson County. And there is the possibility upon place 1 to appoint a deputy probate judge in the Bessemer cutoff that could hear certain cases. And that person does not have to be learned in the law and or an attorney. So that would be upon the probate judge place 1 that makes that appointment. So the easy answer is these 2 probate judges, the 2 that you're gonna choose, one not you, but they're gonna serve everybody in Jefferson County.
Thank you.
Same, my seat, District Court Judge, place 11. If you live anywhere in Jefferson County, you can be down with Shante Brown.
Thank you.
And I guess to get sort of to the meat, because I've had several folks ask this question about what areas it's defined to. Jefferson County is divided into the Westminster Cutoff Division and the Birmingham Division. And that's really the only division. Those numbers are more internal relevance than anything else, because the circuit judges by law could hear any of that. But in these areas, place 13, for instance, is a civil seat. Some of the other places have been designated as criminal seats here. If you go to some counties, there are certain areas where a single circuit judge will serve 3 or 4 counties. And so they do everything except probate in those 3 or 4 counties. So in the primary, if you are an investment division seat, you are restricted to voting in the primary for just those seats, and then Birmingham, vice versa here. But in the general, because we've been determined to be a single circuit, that all citizens of Jefferson County vote for all of the judicial seats.
Okay, very good. Excellent information. Any other questions from the, yes, sir.
For the probate judges, voting is one of the most freest examples that America has. This current administration or current Secretary of State is against Saturday voting. Will you be against Saturday voting, or will you allow it?
You want me to go first? I'll make it easy. Saturday voting is not contemplated by the current statutes. If you want Saturday voting, then someone needs to pass a law to allow it. I mean, the current statute says voting shall be allowed during the times that the courthouse is open. That's word for word what the statute says. We can change the statutes, but the statutes need to be changed. The elections will run. Well, I don't know if place 2 will run the elections. That may be a better question for you. But the elections will run based upon what the statute says. The only reason that we had a Saturday voting was due to the COVID-19 pandemic, in which special rules were created to allow that to happen. Again, I'm not opposed to Saturday voting. I just think that you need to change the statute. The statute is the statute. Let's follow what the statute says. How you going?
Okay. Ms. Bowman?
It's a weird question, I'm sorry, it's a hard question to answer.
Because
Only because we don't create the law.
Yeah.
So as a judge, I would be tasked to follow what the law is. If the legislature had changed the law, into allowed Saturday voting or early voting or anything, I would follow it. I don't think I don't think I'd have a problem with it. I just, the way it is right now, the law is what the law is. I don't know if that
I
answers
get the
your
law,
question.
are you for?
Yeah, I guess, I thought, but I will say this, I am for fair elections. I am. And I think we were very lucky in Jefferson County and let me go back to this young lady. She asked about place one versus place two. One of the things that place one, the seat I'm running for, is tasked with is organizing the elections. We've been very spoiled in this county, I think, over the last several years because we've had really good judges, very organized, very thorough, organize and run our elections. I want to keep that tradition alive. Once I become a judge, you have to have an R or a D, I guess, to get there. But once I become a judge, R or D doesn't matter anymore. The law matters. And so I'm going to be someone who follows the law.
So the question that was asked is about Saturday voting. Personally, I have no problem with Saturday voting. I want to give everybody, if that was my choice, everybody an opportunity to vote because we know people work. And it's sometimes challenging to get to the polls as they need to get there. I am definitely for fair elections, bottom line. But I want to be clear, we have to follow the law. And that's why we have to be very knowledgeable of who we are putting in our legislation and the legislators and senators and the representatives in the state house so that we can get a balance and we can get some laws passed that's going to help our people to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to vote. Even now, even with the 2020 election, we had a number of individuals who were able to vote. Our numbers are low now because of various changes that have come from our Secretary of State. I'm just going to making it more difficult, making it harder for people to vote. I want it to be fair. I want it to be, everybody's not cheating. Because you go on a Saturday don't mean you're going to cheat. It just means that it gives us another opportunity to exercise our right and the opportunities that's been given to us by our forefathers that fought for this right to vote. We need every chance and every opportunity every day. If they had Sunday voting, I would be for Sunday voting after church. But I would definitely be for that because we want everybody to exercise their right so that we're doing it in a time.
We have another question.
Thank you. My question is for Attorney Shante Brown. I appreciate your comments about wanting to make sure that we reach young people before they get caught up in your court, in the courts. There's been a lot of discussion and a lot of disagreement within the city of Birmingham, in particular about prosecuting children as adults, about bringing in the federal government to target certain groups of young people. I wonder, and I know that as a brother said, you can't really say a lot once you become a judge, but this is the time when you're a candidate that we get to ask you these kind of questions. So I would love to hear your thoughts about the approach of calling on the federal government in order to give the city of Birmingham their level of support, the prosecution of children as adults, and just where your thoughts are in relationship to that debate that is within our community today.
Yeah, so I have seen a lot of talk about, especially when we had the crime, the gun violence at Hush. Are you speaking of that? And so I know a lot of people were talking about bringing in the federal government and putting us under certain laws and restrictions, but I do think that it can be overzealous and target the Black community. And I don't think that that's the way that we can handle the gun violence. And the problem is a lot of times the people that are in the rooms having these conversations they're not necessarily the people that are having to prosecute these crimes. For example, we know that Anaya's law was passed. Anaya, she was murdered, and a law was passed in honor of her. It can be a good thing on the one hand, but at the same time, this law created a no bail. So now you have 12 other crimes where someone can be in custody on no bail. And I'm telling y'all, cases can like literally, I just went to trial. The case happened in 2019, and I just tried a case in 2024. So you have people, and I understand crimes happen, and we get sad, and we get emotional about it, but we can't get overzealous where it may potentially have a bad effect. And I think that type of thinking, bringing in the federal government, could potentially have a negative effect. It won't do what they intended for it to do. So I don't agree with bringing in the federal government to answer your question. Now, as far as prosecuting children, I won't be over juvenile court. We have a juvenile court in the Westminster Division, so I won't be over that. Certain laws, like they said, I have to follow the law, so statutorily, if it's a certain law, they automatically get transferred to adult court. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
She said it in a loving way.
I'm sorry. But yeah, I do not agree with that.
All right. Yes, sir.
This question is for the entire panel. The Bible says in Hosea, the 4th chapter, a part of verse 6, that my people perish for lack of knowledge. My question to each one of you is this: within the restrictions and the structure and everything that you have to go through as a judge, what are you going to do to make sure that people are educated so that we don't get the question like this young lady said about the places? Because law, government, life can be very, very complicated.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to uncomplicate for people, especially people who may not have had, let's just say, what are you going to do for Black community, especially who aren't as learned in certain areas in civics? Because if I'm not mistaken, we don't teach civics in high school anymore. And that's for everybody.
I mean, you want to start with the white guys on this one? Look, I'll say this. It starts with the schools, and it starts with us going into schools. You know, one thing I missed out was a volunteer lawyer this year, the past years I've been in to teach civics to schools. We have to get people more engaged with our schools because that's where it starts. We have to teach them younger, not just in high school. That's where it starts. I'll respectfully disagree with you about one thing. We're not having community forums like this in the White communities. We're not having community forums like this in the suburbs. They don't exist. People aren't coming out on a Tuesday night to listen to a bunch of judicial candidates or probate judge candidates talk about it. And so I think this is special that y'all have in the Black communities. Believe it or not, it's not happening in the Black communities. I don't know why it's not, but for us to just be invited, for me to come to this, one of the reasons I came to this was because I wanted to educate you who I am. I want to tell you who I am, what I stand for, what I'm about. And so it's continuing to work with organizations within the law as best that we can, because certainly you have to have a separation of church and state to the extent afforded by the Constitution. We have to work together with whatever organizations that we can to put more forums like this on to where judges can, as you said earlier, educate the public and to answer their questions. And so that's what we need more of, is that. But it starts with schools.
I agree with you 100% about civics. And that part, that's an issue where my kids are in school right now. And I mean, I grew up, I told you I went to Upton. I mean, we didn't learn civics. I mean, I don't remember ever learning civics growing up. And now it's gotten even worse. Where I see where I can have an impact as far as educating the public, we have a lot to compete with, right? You got streaming, you got phones, video games, all that kind of stuff. So breaking through to young people is difficult. We all know that. I think getting into the schools and trying to see who's interested, bring them in, educate them, I'm all for that. But I also think that I can actually have a very big impact on as far as educating the general public on what the job of probate court is to create a more inviting court to the general public. I think when someone walks in, they may not have the money for a lawyer. They may just have a few questions. And instead of just getting kind of shunned away, I think there's a way to create a program and an avenue where they can get some questions answered. I think it's as simple as, hey, these are the steps when you lose a loved one and you need to probate their will. These are the steps when you need a conservatorship. These are the steps when you need a mental health commitment. Just a form, just something to where you can give people some direction.
I think that's an excellent question. However, for me, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I'm out, I'm talking about probate for the last, since probably 2008. I passed the bar in 2006. I started talking about probate then because it affected my family. And I just wanna let you know, it'll tear a family up. It will tear up a family. So what I'm doing all the time is talking about matters in probate. From going to forums, participating in free wheels for everybody. That's pretty much, if you come to any church that's sponsoring that, I'm probably there. Talking to individuals about wheels and doing free wheels. We do them for veterans, we do them for seniors. We are helping people in the community. So everything that I'm doing now, I will continue to do, which means going to the schools. My son graduated from Ramsey. I was in the schools. They invited me to talk about it. Going to career days, talking about it. And every time I got a chance to go to career days, talked about probate court. So I will just continue to do what I'm doing.
Same. Literally, I go to Midfield High School. I go to Westminster City High School. I go to high schools all over talking about the criminal justice system and how one of the things I created is something called BRAIN, and it stands for Be Real and Never Doubt Who You Are. Because I understand how kids can make a decision based on peer pressure, trying to impress somebody, and then one decision can have a lifelong effect on them. So I already go, I spoke at Hewittown Middle School, and I introduced BRAIN. I gave away journals, and it had the brand label on there, and I told them, you not only remember what BRAIN stands for, but use this journal to write your vision and make it plain. So you can already be thinking about what you want to be in life. So I'm just going to continue to do what I've already been doing.
All right, I could not list all the schools that I've been giving back to. I mean, when I was at John Carroll, I would come back to Fatima in my dad's high school program. There's probably not a school in Birmingham that I have not visited and done some type of career fair. That's with regard to the kids. But what we can do is we can let the people know through newsletters, with digital media and everything else now, when there are significant changes in the law, let them know so you're not surprised. All right? The other part, and one, civics is still taught. It's just encapsulated in history. It's one of the four main branches of that. How do I do that? Because I'm also a school board attorney. That's what I've done for about 20 years. But beyond that, one of the things that I've seen and one of the key issues right now is Black male engagement in this election process. The issue is not just because they want to be anti whatever's going on. The problem is that there's an industry that's been created that profits, and they do very well on keeping a very few tight-fisted group of folks who are gonna go vote. We know who's gonna go vote. We're gonna aim at those folks. We know our little area here, and there's really not a focus on expanding. Part of what I'm gonna be doing as judge to the extent that I can, if I have to do it as a ghost from behind, we're gonna get the people engaged. They're gonna get engaged in the process so that you're not picking from what you've been given at this point. You're gonna be selected on the front end before it ever gets to this point.
Thank you so much. This has been enlightening for me. It certainly has. I've gained information, and I hope each one of you have also gained information. At this time, we're gonna have Jacqueline Smith come up and give us some more information. And Jacqueline, you're gonna introduce yourself, who you are.
Yes. I used to be a member of this church when I was married. That's why it's Jacqueline Anderson Smith. Too many people knew me as Jacqueline Smith, but You had to go back to my dad's name. My dad, by the way, his name is Nehemiah Anderson. He was a builder. He was true to his motto. And, that is something that he put in me and in growing up. We were Seventh-day Adventists growing up. So I married this guy that was not a Seventh-day Adventist. And I became worldly and had to go and do other things.
Your job is.
My job, I'm the servant. I'll tell you something else real quick. I came to Birmingham. I ran for the Jefferson County Board of Education. I was the first Black person on that board. I was the only Black person on that board for 30 years. We now have two Black ladies on the school board. And let's see, he didn't come tonight. A couple of people are running for those seats. So it took a long time to get Jefferson County Board of Education diversified and to be inclusive of true history. And I was one of the people that really pushed for that. But the person that was the circuit clerk at that time was a lady whose name was Anne Marie Adams. And she left a legacy. She was the circuit clerk for 18 years, and I love her. She's not with us anymore, but before she passed away, she said, she called me Jonice. She said, Jonice, that's my middle name. There's a lot of people that want to run for my seat, and I don't think they're ready. I'm kind of thinking you might need to do that. And I told her, I just won my other seat. I was reelected 6 times, and which is telling my age. On the school board for 32 years. But anyway, I ran and I got it. And she wanted me to do it because I'm an organized type of person. And because I'm highly organized, I've enjoyed this job. One of the things that the circuit clerk does is absentee voting. Now, we may have a new probate judge. And that probate judge is important to me because that probate judge in seat number one, is going to be the chairman of the election commission. On the election commission in Jefferson County is the probate judge, seat number 1, the circuit clerk, who works with absentee voting, and the sheriff, Fedway. Now the probate judge in place number 1 is the person that organizes all of the election for 178 polling places. There are 179 polling places in Jefferson County. The single one that I've left out is the absentee voting office. We are open now. We open and accept ballots 55 days before the election. So if you came to my office tomorrow and wanted to vote by absentee, we would encourage you to do some of the stuff I have here. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And bring your driver's license, and we will walk you through the process, and in 15 minutes you can vote. You will put your ballot in a ballot box that is locked up. It is sealed. I want to make sure that you understand that your vote, your ballot, once you put it in that box, it is not open until election day. Now, I get asked this question everywhere I go. Is my ballot safe? It is safe because anytime that is overfilled and we have to transport some ballots from a box to a safe, we have a line of custody. We have an affidavit that I sign. I have someone from the sheriff's office witness. I have a lady that keeps the key to the safe, and it's not me, okay? She keeps the key to the safe. The security guard or the sheriff will go and get her and get the key, and they will bring it up to the 5th floor. They will transfer the ballots She will lock everything back up and he will escort her back. And we all will sign affidavits saying what we have witnessed if we have to transfer them. Now, we have to transfer those, I've got 7 boxes, 7 ballot boxes. And today was the second time we've had to transfer. But that sounds good, and the number sounds good, because we have processed over 4,000 ballots already. And I'll tell you how we got to that. But one other thing you need to know and understand, in 2020, we processed almost 38,000 ballots. Approximately 17,000 people came in and voted. The other 11,000 sent us the mail, and they voted by the mail. Okay. That made an impact on the election back then. As a matter of fact, my office got us a state award for doing the most processed ballots for absentee and safe and secure. That's why I use those words, because that's what they said. They send people from Montgomery to watch our process. I like to think of it, they want to watch my process because I'm so pretty. That's probably not why they do it. You have a sheet that looks like this, and you've got my own picture down there, asking you to vote. And this is important because it has the listing of the timelines you have here. You have, if you're not a registered voter, you have until October 21st to register. I don't register you, but I can point you to the right direction. There's an office of registrar in the courthouse, and he's on the 4th floor of the annex. I'm on the 5th floor in the main courthouse. Okay, so the only day that may not be here is October 21st, because that's the last day for the registrar to have you processed to vote. And we still are trying to get young people to vote. Anyone that's not registered to vote, my office encourages them to. Okay, so these are your dates. Now, the other part of this tells you when you call our office, you're going to ask for us to send you a packet, an application that allows you to vote by absentee. We're going to mail you, this is the application. I've been in high schools and the kids say that's a long paper. It is not a long paper. Okay. And I have read things on this paper that I need to see. So you can do the same thing. I didn't bring enough of these, but if you want some, please call our office and we will get them to you. So these are applications to get your absentee ballot. And so if you read this, not right now, but you'll notice that there's a highlighted area in which once you call and say you want an absentee ballot packet, you as a voter, you have to make a copy of your driver's license and send the application back and a copy of your driver's license. Now, we're talking about barriers to voting. A lot of people don't have the ability to go and make a copy. And so what I try to do is tell people, come to the office. Come to the office and bring your driver's license with you and get it over with. It's only going to be about 10 or 15 minutes, true. It is not going to take long. That's one of the first things that I want to caution you about and that I want you to let people know. It's just so much better if you go ahead and vote now. You have until October the 31st to go walk into my office on the 5th floor and vote and be through with it. Now, the other barrier is what you have, the white sheet of paper that has affidavit of absentee voter. We will send you, once you send us the information with your photo ID, we will get that, we will look in our system, make sure that you are qualified, that you are a registered voter. Then we'll mail you a packet. That packet is gonna have, it'll be a big old white packet, kind of like this, and it'll have several envelopes in it. One of the big things that you need to look at is, it's a big old yellow sheet. And it says, fill it out in ink. I had someone call me Thursday and said, I put mine in pencil. Okay? And she wanted me to, once we get them, we put them in the ballot box. So she wanted me to open it up and get hers out. And I told her, no, that's not going to happen. But there are remedies. She now will have to go to the polling place on November 5th and ask the polling inspector about a provisional ballot, because she messed up hers. So we still have a remedy for it. If you mail it in and you think that you've forgotten something, let us know that you've already mailed it in and there's some errors. But even if you don't let us know, on election day, you tell them, the inspector, you want a ballot, a provisional ballot. We hear that word and people ask me, what is a provisional ballot? It's for when people make mistakes. For instance, the gentleman in the back was telling me that he has a new polling place. So you go to your old polling place and you got a new one and you get all confused. You need to just go to that polling, the person at that place, whichever one you're at, and tell them you had a problem with your address. And so you need to do a provisional ballot. It's all computerized, we'll catch up with it. We will find that we do not vote, we do not count them twice. Now, Mr. Blankenship was just saying how great and wonderful my office is. He knows that I don't play. Okay. We make sure that we double check everything. So it would help us if you felt like you messed something up, then we'd be on the alert for that. But we do have different things that we are looking for. Now, once you get your packet, this is for the ballot now. You've already asked for us to mail you the ballot. You know, when we send you that application and you mail it back with your photo ID, which, this is an aside. I'm being sued right now. There are 4 clerks being sued in the state of Alabama because the blind people say that they're being discriminated against because they can't get the photo IDs. They don't have access to that. And, you know, you can sue anybody for anything. I happen to personally agree that that is a legitimate question because we have something called archival. When you're in the overseas, we don't ask you to send a photo ID. So we could just as well not ask that group. But that is the case right now that is being adjudicated. It won't be finished up by this election, but I'm just letting you know that these are the things that come up. So getting back to when you get your packet, and it's gonna have some instructions, read them carefully. Okay, now on the QT, if I open up a ballot and it's in pencil, I'm gonna read it anyway. And I will more than likely accept it because as a circuit clerk, I have certain leeway. Now, and I found out about this because I was watched so much, I had to ask a whole lot of questions. And I have a little bit of flexibility as to what we can accept or not accept. And here it goes. On this affidavit, mine is marked. That first section, there's a little red dot out there. We're gonna look for the underside. If your name is the same name as on the back of the envelope, because it'll have your name and address and your voter number. So if your name and address is the same one, we're gonna look at that. Secondly, it says check at least one of these reasons that you want to vote absentee. Now, let me tell you about that. And I wanted you to use your common sense. It says, I expect to be out of the country or state on election day. Now, how am I gonna monitor that? How am I gonna know you're out of town? I mean, my grandchildren say I have a crystal ball. But I don't think the state of Alabama thinks that I have one. Also, another reason is if you are a caretaker or you expect to be at work on election day and cannot. So Alabama, this is the reason that you're voting by absentee. Read those carefully and see if it applies to you. And I'm sure one of these is going to apply to you. If you're a student out of town and you ask for one, we will send you one. You're not gonna be here, so we go by absentee. So we want this section, the first section, we're gonna check that to see that you fill that out. If you haven't, we're supposed to start it. Your reason, if you haven't checked the reason, we're supposed to start it. We're supposed to something that we can't monitor. It's like a tiger without teeth. The signature, if you have not signed it, we're supposed to start it. And the last part, which is part of the suit with the line, is having someone notarize. You don't have to have a person notarize it. If you come to our office, I've got notaries there. But you either can have notarized or you can have 2 witnesses. And then send it to me. Now, I'm going to say this. It's not rocket science, but I have had people to call me and tell me I forgot to sign it. The thing says, double check everything before you put it in the envelope to mail to us. This highlights the sections, and I put them in different colors so you can see. This is the first part. This is the second part with all of those reasons. This is the third part where you sign, and this is where you get it notarized. Now, I know I'm taking a lot of time in explaining this to you, but let me tell you how it pains me to spoil a ballot. We got actually 37,702 ballots that year in 2020, almost 38,000. And I had to at least spoil about 1,500. That means 1,500 people forgot to sign or forgot something, and I had to spoil. Okay, and let me make sure you understand. I'm sitting there, the ones that don't have that, I have to look at them and say, we're not going to count that. So I'm sitting here saying what we're going to count. I have pardon me guys, I have a Republican sitting right here watching.
You usually got a Democrat too, in fairness. There's both parties.
I have a Democrat sitting next to the Republicans, and both of them looking at me. While I look at these things, and I then take it and show it to them. So they know why I am spoiling this ballot. I can't fake it. I can't hastily sign a name or anything like that. This is serious business. And we have a Secretary of State that right now is making sure that we are doing our job correctly. So much so that I cannot come to an area and speak about the absentee voting process unless I am requested, invited, but I can't just go bopping down the street and telling people how to vote absentee. I have to show proof of where I've been and what I talked about at that point. Now, I don't think this has ever happened. It certainly did not happen in 2020. But right now, I have to justify. So I don't let anybody else go with me. But I can't trust what they're gonna say. So I go to make sure that I'm saying everything correctly. And this is actually kind of short of what we do, but, please call my office if you need somebody. I see you giving me time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, at this time, and I have to recognize Judge Patrick, please stand. You cannot do anything in a vacuum, and we could not have done this without you, without your help, and we are certainly most appreciative for everything that you have done. At this time, we will have Mr. Bobby Benton give brief remarks, and I know the timekeeper's not gonna put you on time.
That's no fair. I'll do that. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
God is my Father, Christ our Redeemer, Holy Spirit our community, humankind our family. Good evening.
Good evening.
To Mrs. Lord, moderator, Ms. Eva Carter, and to Reverend Bell, to Mrs. Bell, and to my fraternity brother who at home, Dr. Clyde Carter, a Kappa man. You have to remember Ms. Ann Down. You have to remember Mr. Johnny White, who were members of the United Fellowship Record Forum. So all the members of the United Fellowship Record Forum, please stand. Thank you. To Reverend Ricardo and Jumbe, to my friend Reverend Thomas Mack, and I have my change my speech because my friend and big brother who was in politics over 40 years in the back. So I wanted, he gonna take one of my men to come and say hello. Former Mayor Willie Beck.
Dr. Benton, can I come up there?
Yes, sir.
Well, really, I don't have anything to say other than I appreciate the Fellowship Forum for putting this forum on together. I do have one question for the Madam Clerk and the people who are running for probate judge. I wrestle with myself sometime about trying to be low key, but then when things get on my mind, I feel like I owe it to the people to speak up.
Yeah.
There's a law that was passed, an act passed by the federal government called Help America Vote Act. And in it, it requires every state to form a committee to make it easier for people to vote. Not vote illegally, but make it easier for them to cast a proper vote. Madam Clerk outlined several items that she is restricted by, good or bad, but she's restricted by. Her office on a day-to-day basis deals with the public. She knows what those challenges are. And I commend her and her staff because I've interacted with them on a number of occasions. And I know they work very hard to adhere to the letter of the law. Not the spirit of the law, but the letter of the law. And as such, she has a very important voice to say how elections should or could be handled better. In that Help America Vote Act, it requires a commission to be formed by the Secretary of State. And in the state of Alabama, one position that is specifically named is the probate judge of Jefferson County. Now, I don't know if it's place 1 or place 2, or whatever it is. The question came up about Saturday voting. If that's something good that will lead to more people participating, not illegally, but participating, that should be something that would be dealt with Help America Vote. What I'd like to know is, are the candidates committed to working with the clerk and addressing those challenges that her office faced and offices all across the state in making it better for people to vote. I won't say easier, but better for people to vote. And what would your position be, knowing that as a probate judge, you sit on that commission, where would you stand on Saturday voting? It's not just a matter of what the legislature does, it's a matter of what the Secretary of State puts before the legislature to vote on based on the commission that is set up to look at these particular issues. And that's all I have to say at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Bell. And, not, anyone want to ask a question? Anybody want? Okay, all right, okay. I'm just gonna,
I think we, to Mayor Bell, our former mayor of Birmingham, we had that question a little bit earlier, but what I want to point out, we do have place one and place two. Historically, place one has been the chief election official, place two, but there has been a historic point before where place two has served in that capacity as the chief election official. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that that has happened in the past, so that we can know how this really works. But to Mayor Bell's direct question, my answer was, I am definitely willing to work with the clerk in any way to try to make voting available for all people in our county on Saturday, and I did stay Sunday after church, if that was allowed. Because we want everybody to have the opportunity to vote. And with that act being in place, I think we need to put some pressure. We need to put some pressure that we formulate that particular committee so that we can, that commission, so we can make it easier. We shouldn't want it to be hard to vote. Everybody
Okay, thank you, everybody. Minutes.
all I like to say, my wife is from Chicago. Chicago vote on Saturday, Chicago vote on Sunday. And in closing, may the road rise to meet you. And may the wind be at your back. And may the sunlight of Jesus Christ grace your cheek. And may rain gently fall upon your field. And may God keep you in the hollow of God's hand. Go on.
And I have one thing to say, let us all take our brown, black, votes to the poll. Amen. All right, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you.